So a lot of you have asked me how I did my build, and it was a little difficult to show you because at the time I wanted to get this built as fast as possible so that I could go as fast as possible. I never had an intention of having a channel, but because of the curiosity and questions from people, I decided to go ahead and do a channel. So now what I did promise is that I would try to figure out a way to show you the build without having to redo my build. I have stripped it down as much as possible because I did have to do some of the repairs. Then I think you will get a better idea of exactly how it was put together, and I'll try to be as thorough as possible without boring you. But if you have any questions after this is all done, just leave them in the comments below. So this is about as naked as you're going to see my little ladybug, because I did not want to mess with screws that were in the bench or in the platform or the things that are in the cabinet up here, because those are new screws that I put in and I didn't want to take the risk of stripping them just so that you guys could see this. I think you will get a clear look at what I've done here. So I'm gonna start with this, which is the overhead shelf that I built that rests along here, up, and then has this metal bracket along here and rests in both sides of this. So you can see that this extends way like past almost an arm's length, and it has some netting back there where I put little squishy things. And then on this board, which is a 1/2 inch plywood cut to size over here and and lengthwise. It's just pretty much cut squarely. And then this is a metal bar, metal L bracket kind of thing that is attached here and under here along the way, a couple of those. And I have decided not to have the IKEA shelf so that I can have a better access to the back cab from the front area here. So then I have spray adhesive fabric on the plywood just to make it a little bit soft. I originally had Velcro curtains down, so this is just left over from that. I don't want to try to get that off because it might mess with the fabric here. But on the other side then, it just is the same, but I put a little foam padding here just to make it nice and soft. And that is how I made that shelf. So I had a mishap with my shelf. Somebody had accidentally grabbed the IKEA shelf, pulling all of this off because they kind of were leaving the van and fell and caught themselves on it. So I had to screw in some screws into this plastic piece, which kind of got bent in the process. And also over here, because this whole thing actually came down. One of the downsides about how I have done this, which is simply attached an L bracket here and slipped it in behind the plastic. So really, with the L brackets, that just kind of slips over the edge of that little lip there, and one over on the other side. So that keeps it from sliding this way toward the back, and then these right here keep it from slipping out. So I hope that explains it. I'm sorry I'm not really showing you anything, but this was all done after the fact, so I hope that explains how I did this overhead shelf back here. And you can see after a year or so of wear and tear, I'm gonna paint today too to just get all of those nicks and scratches. I did spray paint the inside of my van. It was red, just like the outside. I got some Rust-Oleum spray paint. So I'll show you some pictures of how I taped it all up, and then I just opened all the doors and spray painted. So this is the paint that I used, and I'm gonna do some touch-up now. It's just Rust-Oleum Ultra Cover Paint and Primer in one. This color, whatever that is Satin Stone Gray. Originally, I taped all this up to do it, but I'm just gonna do it by hand. Then the next order of business was this carpet. So it's just a 4x6 area rug. So you can see it goes all the way to the end over there and all the way to the end over here. Without counting the bumper and this little bit back here, the cab area, or the back area, sorry, is 6 feet long by 4 feet wide. And it goes underneath here and all the way to the back, leaving a little bit space here and a little bit of space over here. The other thing I did was just to have some form of insulation here, which actually it does work to keep it from getting hot behind here. So it is just Reflectix, as you can see here, right? So I stuffed Reflectix back in here. I stuffed it behind this little outlet because this is usually where a window would be, but mine was a cargo van, so it didn't have any windows. So I just shoved Reflectix back there, and then I used these, it's very thin balsa wood. You can see it here, how thin it is. So it makes it flex a little bit. Cut them, I mean, they're planks about this long, but then I cut the length of them and just shoved them behind this little area back here. And so you can see, you know, it's not perfect, but it works, and it does keep it from getting too hot or too cold behind there. And then I did the same thing on this side, and this is another IKEA shelf that is longer and thinner. I used to have one along there as well, and again, I've decided to get rid of that. And then the same thing in these windows, which again were not windows because it was a cargo van. There's Reflectix behind this fabric, and it's just there for aesthetic, but it also does insulate just a tad so that I don't have a freezing cold metal behind there. It's just a kind of a warm fuzzy blanket this way. And then this is just attached with adhesive. I made it myself. This is my happy camp place. And I did the same thing on the back windows here and here with the balsa and Reflectix. And you've seen my organizer that I have screwed up there, and then it just has Velcro adhesive down there. Then down here, I did put some insulation, so I put it behind this part and this part, which these just kind of all snap out. Then I put fabric over the little piece of plywood that comes out, and then shoved it with some insulation and put it back on. So that is what I did there. Here, I used to have a table shelf that kind of snapped up. This is where those white metal things that I have now on my bed used to be, so that I had a table that popped up this way. I got rid of that because I needed those white shelving things for my bed, and that was more important to me. Now on here, again, this is how the cabinet is attached to the van. I screwed some new holes here with an L bracket that is attached to this piece of plywood that is maybe 4 inches. So that is because to fit over the wheel well here, it goes out from the back about 4 inches. And so this plank runs the length of the cabinet, just the back here goes along the length, and on both sides it's attached by these L brackets. And then it is attached to this cabinet to the back of it here. So this is a pretty strong piece. So I have the L brackets going sideways and attaching on to the back of this piece of wood and the back of the cabinet. So I hope that gives you a good idea of how all of that is attached to the van, and those are the very first things that I did. On this side, because I didn't put the back to the cabinet so that it would fit over the wheel well, you can see I had to cut a little bit so that it would fit. See there? So you can see about maybe 2 inches in. Maybe I didn't have to do as much as I did. And the reason it's cut so poorly is because I did it by hand, which I would not recommend, but I did not have a power saw working at that time. So I did it by hand, and that took me way longer than it had to. And I did that on both sides. And I guess I could put Reflectix here to insulate a little bit, which I might do, and also behind that one. Although this is where I have my water stored. I had to cut it here so that I can open it this way. I have those magnetic things there. So this way I can access my water tank, which is what sits back here. And again, I'm gonna get some repairs done while I've got everything out. And I added these magnets on both sides over here and over here so that it goes shut and it makes it stay shut while I'm moving. These I added, so this is just from IKEA, it's a little bungee cord, but I put this little piece of wood and I put them on these runners so that I could have something that slides out. This is where I house my stove, and then I also did that here. This is just a crate that happened to fit perfectly between the space here, and I put little runners on them like a drawer so that they could slide out and slide in like that. And this is where I have food storage and things like that. And then I added these little hooks so that this keeps it nice in place when I am driving down the road. And I also added this little piece from leftover wood so that this doesn't move when I'm going down the road. So for those of you who have always wondered about what my actual shower unit looks like, it looks like this. This brand is no longer available in this size. They do have a 5-gallon one. For me, this was the perfect size. It's 2.5 gallons because of the way it fits into this cabinet so well. Before I put it in there though, I wanted to show you. This is attached. It's always attached. It's got a button here. This is what turns on the pump in here, and I put that facing this side so that I just have to reach my hand down there and put it on when I'm going to take a shower. I have it out because I actually emptied it while it was sitting here for a few weeks. I don't know if you can see this, but there is a hole that I've put for my faucet tubing so that I can have this on so it's secured, so nothing will leak out or splash out when there's water in here. But I wanted to show you that this is how the shower unit is attached. This is a quick release, so it's detachable like that. And this has an on-off switch so that water won't come out when I turn on the pump initially. And then when I want it, I just turn it on and it works like that. And then I just simply reattach all this. You can see that. So this is, again, this is the quick release valve. Then since this is on the other side, I can safely put that on. And then this just rests up here. So then for the faucet, it has its own base, but I put it on this PVC pipe that I painted so that it was the height that I wanted for the container that I put my water in. And I cut out this little piece, attached a magnet on the bottom and attached a magnet here. That just puts in place right there. It doesn't come loose when I'm driving. I've never had a problem with it falling. And then the tube, what I do is I just simply put this through the top in that hole that I put, thread it through till it gets to that area, put that inside, then screw the lid on tight. So that is how that whole system works. I fill the tank just using this funnel and the water pitcher that I have, and it fills it pretty efficiently. I had a hose and I really didn't have anywhere to store it. I didn't see the use for it because I can do it the other way. It may take a little bit more time, but then it makes me be more careful. So that's how I fill that water jug. I put this platform back on, which again is the exact same size as the base. This is just screwed along at different intervals to keep this attached to the board that's on top. And then this just acts as a glide rail, and I put felt on top of it so that the mattress doesn't get hurt by anything on either side. And I put felt also along here so that when it drops, it just kind of has something soft to sit on this side. And I feel like I've shown this a million times too, but here is how I prepare for this. It's easier maybe without the mattress there, so you can see the mechanism of it. And slide it along here. There we go. So then hopefully you get a good idea of how that sits on there. This can hold maybe 150, 200 pounds. I wanted to show you this because here is where the floor ends. And you can see I did the bench as much to the end as I could, extending it a little bit to the back of the seat. The reason I put the platform of my bed the height that it is to clear the wheel well without being too high. I could have gone all the way up here, but then I would have run into troubles over here because the back at that height, actually, you can see it has a curvature, and so it would make the length a little shorter, and it wouldn't have allowed me to do what I've done here. So I used that to kind of determine the height of my bed. And then, as I have said, I just used plywood. It's 1/2-inch plywood, and this is the platform in back is 40 by 30, 40 wide and 30 long, and there's 2 pieces of that. And then this is 10 by 40, so it makes 70 by 40. That is the length of the platform when all is said and done. And for those of you who are curious as how this goes, you just secure that there, and it comes out the other side here and locks on there. So this cannot move forward because it is secured. So I hope you have enjoyed seeing some of the build of my van that you haven't seen before. I hope you learned something new. And if you liked it, go ahead and leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.